Good afternoon. I'm Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Tuesday, May the 17th. I'm a day late and several $1 million short. Yesterday, after we taped, Governor Asa Hutchinson did issue his call for the special legislative session that begins Thursday, the call being the agenda of what's going to be taken up. It ended up being quite a lengthy agenda. He still has his highway money proposal at the top of the list, and it still calls for paying for highway construction in the next couple of years with surplus money that we'll have thanks to Obamacare, and also by diverting some money that used to go to other state agencies to the highway program. There's still some resistance to that. Some people would like a longer term solution, perhaps even a tax increase, but the governor has said that's off the table. Other issues include these. There's going to be a cessation for a year, a recess, if you will, from the state school report card. There's yet a third test in as many years to grade the sufficiency of Arkansas students. In light of that, we're not going to put any schools next year in academic distress if this legislation proposed by the governor passes. It likely will. One big question is how this affects the Little Rock School District, which is currently under state control. Does this mean it will be harder or easier in the fall for it to be removed from the academic distress list and placed back under the control of a local school district or not? The school officials seem to say there's a pathway to that, but it's not entirely clear. We'll have to watch that as we go along. Other school news is that they're going to clean up a problem in the election laws so that there can be a school election in November to elect a new Pulaski County School Board. State law had to be changed, else there would have been a tremendous chaos in the county and an extraordinary expense because of the difference in laws for school and general election procedures. There's also a sneaky little piece of legislation the governor's put in there, and it's to override a portion of the state's building code as it applies to earthquake standards for certain construction in the new Madrid quake zone. This is to benefit the Nucor Steel Company, which has a big steel mill. Yet to be explained why the current building codes aren't sufficient for Nucor and why they should be given a pass. It's a money issue. They like to save money, of course. And finally, the governor's going to get rid of the State History Commission. He's going to roll its functions and the governing commission that headed that agency for years under the State Heritage Department, headed by his political appointee, Stacey Hurst. There's a doubleheader highway meeting tonight in Little Rock. A consultant hired by independent coalition that wants to do downtown freeway work differently than the highway department does will speak first to the city board of directors at 6 o'clock and then to a public meeting at First United Methodist Church at 7 o'clock. He thinks we can do better than the 10 to 12 lane freeway expansion the highway wants to do. His plan calls for a boulevard, a different bridge crossing downtown, and some other far more livable means of moving traffic around town. He's not likely to prevail in the court of political opinion, but in the court of legal opinion, there's still other possibilities for the highways. A new petition drive has surfaced online. It calls for Leslie Rutledge to get out of the way of the attempt to amend the Constitution for campaign finance reform and ethics reform. She's standing in the way in part because she got elected to her office by means of a shady election law that allows huge sums of money to be spent without disclosing where that money comes from. A lawsuit has been filed to get this petition on the ballot. In the meanwhile, grassroots are trying to organize and put some pressure on Leslie Rutledge, at least through embarrassment, if nothing else. Also in the city board meeting tonight is a proposal to turn the Donaghey building, the state's first skyscraper, vacant for years on Main Street, into an apartment project. It's a great idea. Interestingly enough, it's to be funded by a program set up by the federal government where foreign investors, if they put $500,000 each or more in their project, can qualify for legal residency in the United States. Programs come under some criticism, but actually it seems to be designed for projects like Little Rock, a derelict building in a developing part of town where a little extra money might just make the difference. It'd be good for us. Circuit Judge Wade Merrill of Hot Springs is pending trial in June on a negligent homicide charge. He's the man who had the tragic accident of leaving his child in a hot car on a hot day and discovering too late that the child was in the car and had died from heat exposure. His lawyers have filed a number of motions in the last week attempting to get this, pointing at getting the criminal charge set aside. They say this was a terrible accident, not a crime. They've asked for evidence that's been produced in the case, have tried to suppress others, and they say the prosecutor has yet to identify exactly what criminal law he's violated. More on that before we go to trial, but I expect the trial will happen. And finally, this note. As of today, there's not yet been a single incidence of a transgender person accused of behaving inappropriately in a public restroom in Arkansas. However, today there was a charge of a band director for sexually assaulting a female student. This follows a Baptist preacher who sexually assaulted a young woman last week, a pimp who's been charged with assaulting a young woman, and a variety of other similar predation charges that appear in the daily newspaper almost daily. But we're worried about transgender people in the bathroom. I think we're looking in the wrong place. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back tomorrow.